plenty of talk out there about the best bushcraft knife, sleeping bag, tent, bug out bag, fire starter, all these gear items. You can have all the gear in the world and still succumb to panic and frustration when the going gets tough. But something that's often neglected and overlooked are the two most important bushcraft or survival items that we have at our disposal. Those are our body and our mind. Today we'll be talking about honing your mind. Just as we care for a knife or a sword blade, the practice of mindfulness helps us to look at our mind and find out where it's tarnished, where it needs sharpening, where it's holding rust. Awareness is so key in the woods or in any natural environment. It's what we use to be able to be aware of natural rhythms, the alarm cries of animals, knowing which direction the wind is coming from, being aware of weather patterns changing. It's also what allows us to enjoy our time in nature. If we're distracted, songs going through our heads, or we are off in another world worrying about bills that have to be paid, or that argument we had with somebody yesterday, we can't really be present for our time in nature. Most of us have minds that are very ill-conditioned. They're constantly distracted and very disoriented. This isn't really our fault. We live in a culture that bombards us with constant temptations to fill our minds with all these offerings that not only make our minds weaker, but more dependent on those offerings. So fairly soon we find ourselves bored or feeling uncomfortable if we don't have the TV playing, or the radio going, or a cell phone at our side. So we develop a psychological dependence on these things, and every time we tune in to those devices, we create more distraction and more disorientation in our minds. The fact is that all of us can condition our minds in a positive way and develop more awareness. Guess what? It's free. Unlike buying that great piece of gear, all of us can very easily start to recondition our minds to a more natural way of being. So when we get outside, we're not only more aware of all our surroundings, but we get more joy and appreciation from our time in nature. So are you ready to begin a journey towards being stress-free, unfrustrated, full of vibrant life and awareness? All right, let's go. I'm going to give some pointers, tips, and exercises that we can use. Today, this is popularly called mindfulness. Our most powerful tool for cultivating mindfulness is simply time in nature. Every moment we spend in nature quiets our thinking mind, expands our awareness, and opens our senses. Conversely, time spent in civilization, trying to always stay in touch with everybody and everything, is the perfect recipe for starting to develop more dependence on all these things. I'm not saying that you have to get rid of your cell phone, but let's make sure that we are using our devices aren't using us. If we're uncomfortable, if we're away from our cell phone or our iPad for more than a few hours, what is that saying? might be an indication that there's an addiction going on there. An addiction where the mind feels that it requires that kind of distraction and input in order to feel comfortable. So a first step in starting to reclaim our mindfulness is becoming aware of the devices we use and how much our mind depends on television, radio, iPad for its comfort level. When we start to reduce our usage and use those things in a mindful way, we will start to make more room in our minds for heightened awareness. To sharpen that blade of your mind further, there's an ancient practice called meditation. And a lot of people are sour to meditation because they believe it's this sort of navel-gazing process of zoning out or something. Meditation, in the mindfulness sense, is not about turning off our minds, but instead about opening up our awareness, becoming aware of everything that's coming into our senses. So, an easy mindfulness meditation practice is to be in your car and instead of turning on the radio or thinking about all the places that you need to go, have that radio off, focus your gaze ahead, and become fully aware of everything in your peripheral vision. Just become visually aware. Not only will this make for a safer driving experience, because you're not zoning out anymore, but every minute that you spend doing that hones your mind, develops more sharpness, more sensory awareness. You can practice this mindfulness meditation in the woods or anywhere else. All you have to do is stop what you're doing for a moment and tune into your senses. Here I can feel my butt sitting on the metal seat. I can feel the pressure of the clothing on my skin. I can feel and hear the experience of breathing as my muscles expand and contract as the air moves in and out of my mouth. There's crows, chickadee, jay, the cat over there, the wind. All of this sensory information is constantly around us. Except we're so distracted with our thinking mind that we don't pay attention to it. And that's why a lot of people can go out into the woods and walk right by somebody that's sitting 10 feet away. Or they won't see that owl sitting right in that tree. They won't hear the sound of a jay that says, hey, there's a fox over there. They'll miss tracks, very evident tracks of a bear walking right across the ground in front of them. Edible medicinal plants go right by because we're in here thinking about, oh, did I get everything I needed at the grocery? Can't remember. I think I forgot the milk. This mindfulness meditation doesn't only have to be practiced when you're sitting quietly. In fact, with my students, one of the most challenging and fun ways that we practice it is running through the woods as fast as we can. You're moving over the environment, up and down hills, bouncing across logs, vaulting, crawling under things. This entire time, trying to be mentally aware. Often, when we are performing martial arts, running through the woods like that, or immersed in a task, we have an opportunity to enter the zone, this place of heightened awareness, where we're moving, we're performing, and yet at the same time, we hear crow, we feel wind, we're aware of our pulse and our beating heart. We can feel our muscles moving under our flesh. There's a vitality in life that we experience when we have this level of awareness. And this is our birthright, all of us. I've had the chance to work with people who have been labeled by our culture as manic depressive, ADHD, anxiety disorder. When we have a label like that attached to us, we can feel like something's wrong. But often, those are actually symptoms of a mind that may be healthier than the average civilized mind. Because the average civilized mind that we're using as a marker to categorize these disorders is a mind that is exceedingly distracted, exceedingly stressed, exceedingly frustrated, exceedingly unhealthy. When I'm out with somebody who has ADHD, when they get off their medications and get out into the woods and spend some time in that natural environment, they're actually more functional than the average person. They have a heightened awareness and an ability to engage in a task, like trying to get a bow drill fire started, even though, according to their diagnosis, they shouldn't be able to focus on something like that. But when it has meaning, when it's not just do this because I've told you, you're doing it because you are going to have fire, things change. What we're talking about here is tapping in to an intelligence that all of us possess. So if you want to develop some heightened awareness and more mindfulness, here's what I would recommend. Number one, tune in and become aware of your use of technology. How often are you using technology in a way that is just feeding a sense of, I need to tune in? If it feels like addiction, if it feels like you're uncomfortable without it, then it's a really good sign that it's not doing your mind any favors. By lessening our use and lessening our dependence on those devices, we make a first great step toward reclaiming our natural mind. Number two, start to develop a practice of mindfulness meditation. Anytime that you are sitting, expand your senses out. Feel what you're actually feeling in a tactile sense. Smell. What do you smell? What do you taste? Hear. Become aware of the full symphony of sounds that are around you. If you're in a quieter area like I am here, your horizon, your auditory horizon, expands for miles. And visually, allow yourself to take in the full visual picture. I'm not just seeing this in front of me. I can see this entire range around me. We have a very expansive range of vision, most of us. But we're only aware of that little bit, because that's what we've been culturally taught. Start to pay attention to what's out here, and your vision will expand. So that you'll be walking or driving. You won't even have to turn your head, and you'll see the deer on the side of the road. And you'll know whether it's poised to jump out. Finally, experiment with mindfulness meditation in an active sense. So when you're hiking, when you're out backpacking, and you're lighting a fire, when you're climbing a tree, when you're setting up a tent, practicing throwing a knife. Use those moments to stop and tune in and become aware of what you're doing. Any time that you catch your mind off in la-la land, thinking about this, thinking about that, take that as a moment, as a bell ringing and saying, tune back in. What's actually going on around me? You are not going to lose your ability to think, reason, figure things out, remember. You don't have to worry about that. You will still be able to compose lists, to figure out what you should say to the boss tomorrow, and to remember what's on that grocery list. We're very, very practiced at those things. So developing more mindfulness doesn't mean leaving those things behind. It just means that you can use your thinking mind as a tool. Tune in, use that thinking tool, and then set it aside and come back to awareness. Awareness pays off on so many levels. In the woods, you will have way more fun. You will see and experience more. People will think you're psychic or something because you're so aware in the woods. In your regular life, in your relationships with people, when you approach a conversation, let's say, with awareness, with listening, instead of sitting there and thinking what you're going to say next, you will take in aspects of body language, aspects of what the person's really trying to say that you would completely miss if you were busy in your own head with your own dialogue. And thus you will become a more effective communicator, a more effective listener, a better friend. Again, this is our natural birthright. Don't let it be taken away by cultural forces that just would love to have you dependent upon their devices so that you keep buying them and buying them. Instead, use those things selectively and allow your natural awareness to blossom. You will be amazed at how amazing life is when you come at it with awareness. Thanks for watching.